Good morning, Enchanted Sisters. It is Tuesday, October 21st, and it is time for day 2 of our Season of the Witch event. So, welcome in. Thank you so much for taking some time out to join us for this today. To all of our returning friends and family and current students and new folks to us. I'm Sarah, founder of the Sisters Enchanted, and I've been doing this work with Sisters Enchanted since 2016. So we're coming up on 10 years of making magic, bringing confidence and self-trust and the fundamentals of a nature-inspired spiritual practice that feels fulfilling and deep and connected to women all over the world. All right. Well, this week we are here to talk about so many different things. And when I host these events, if you are newer here or if you've been here for a while, then you probably realize this. When I host these events, I sit every morning and I think about the community and everybody who is participating. And I just imagine being in a space with everyone. And I think about what it is that we need specifically in this point in time. And I let that take priority over anything else that I planned or anything else that I thought of for us to do. And as I stepped into this season of the witch yesterday, I really felt like that idea that I spoke about yesterday of learning about the season of the witch through these seasonal energies. So what we see with the trees and they're losing their leaves, right? They're shedding away. They're not trying to hold on. I shared yesterday about ancestral stories and how we're in this liminal space right now where we can connect on a deeper level to the people who came before us. And the folks that came before us, they did not earn gold stars for working extra hard and for sacrificing themselves and going through life demonstrating their worth by what they do and how they are seen by society. And that's a great reminder to us and a lesson from this season as we connect with our ancestors, thinking back to the energy of our ancestors when they crossed. What were the legacies that they left behind? What were the stories that they left untold? What were their regrets? What were their wishes? And taking that as part of the season of the witch energy to empower ourselves to step fully into this liminal space where we are in the threshold, crossing the threshold from summer. Slowly but surely, it's getting chillier out, moving into that winter energy. And what do we need to bring with us into the darkness of winter to reflect on, to think about uh, the intentions, the goals, the energy we will plant for the year ahead. And I think that has so much to do with the season of the witch. When I started working on this event, I was thinking like crushing witch wounds and, I don't know, liberating ourselves from the chains that we bind ourselves in for to prove our worth or something. But I think that the lessons of the season of the witch, particularly for us right now, really lie in that reflection, lie in witnessing what has come before us and letting those lessons stir something within us as we move forward and turn chapters in our books. We write new pages for the months to come. All right. Well, we have in the comments today Team Sisters Enchanted. So you've got Anna in the comments, you've got Naomi in the comments, you've got Patty in the comments, and we always have a whole bunch of student, alum, and community members who have been participating for years and years now. Do you know we have some members of our community who have been with us since like May, June, July, August, September 2016. So 9.5 years who still show up for these calls. And I can't believe it. I feel so grateful for everybody being here. Our one rule is to lead with kindness. So please practice that in the comments. That means to lead with kindness with yourself as well. So if you start to think, I can't keep up, I don't know If this is for me, it's not working, it's, whatever comes up for you. Lead with kindness with yourself. Remember, it's all stories. Our thoughts are the stories we're creating our life with. And lead with kindness with your peers and Team TSE. In comments, you don't have tone of voice, body language, facial expression, background knowledge, any of that. And it's a pretty brave thing to, I think, get in the comments section and chat with people today. So I appreciate how everybody shares here. And it helps that we keep that in mind, that lead with kindness values, so that we make space for people to do it wrong and mess up and try some things and maybe find their people here in the comments, when we can remember to have grace and lead with kindness with ourselves and with others. Okay, so I want to know, if you watched this yesterday live or on the replay, did you notice your energy at all as you moved through the day yesterday? And it's okay if you didn't. Life happens. You walk away and your phone rings and you totally forget what we just went through. But if you participated yesterday in Team TSE, certainly you can share as well in the comments to get it started. But did you think about it in a way maybe you hadn't before, or were you more aware of it? Did it anything? Yeah. So I see some people are saying yes, yes. And it could have just been a little spark, and maybe that little spark hit and then you sort of fell away from it. Like I said, no shade if you totally just spaced on it until you got the email that this was starting again today. We all have that in our lives sometimes more than we want. But yeah, I love that. All right, that's you right there, applying the work that we are doing this week with reclaiming your season. When I talk about your season, we can look at the actual word season, and that's things happen cyclically in a season. So we've got the seasons of the wheel of the year, right? We've got the 4 seasons. And then, unless you live in Miami, and then you have one season, but we have 4 seasons. And then we can also look at seasons in terms of, holiday seasons or sports seasons, if you're a sports person. Whatever comes in seasons, there's sort of a start, there's a transition, there's things that happen in that season. And so many of the people here are in different seasons of life that can feel very much like your season is being just siphoned away from you because of everything that goes on in life. Right now, the time that we live in, we have media distractions left, right, and center. Team TSC, we just had a discussion about this. Just the thought that you can be reached at any moment in time by a family member because of cell phones that are always with you is like you're kind of always 1 foot there and 1 foot here. Or the endless distractions when you're scrolling on social media and you see something and you're in the comments. Or the blessing of the world that we live in is we have so much opportunity. You can leave here today and learn how to sew. You can go take a dancing class. You can get on an airplane and fly somewhere. We have opportunity to explore and do things like never before, but that's overwhelming because what's the right opportunity? What are we going to miss out on? And so we have all of that. We have then, of course, the good girl algorithm that we talked about yesterday. And that's where we're saying yes to things. We're part of the worthiness economics, where we are judging our value by how much we give, how much we do for people. We don't want to say no. We don't want to disappoint people. And all of this just siphons our energy out of us. And it really robs us of the season that you might be in, whether that's entering a new season where you're entering, people here tend to be anywhere between the ages of like 30 and 85. So that's a big age range, right? We've got those 30s who are still figuring things out, maybe starting like a new chapter of life, maybe motherhood, maybe career. We've got 60, 70, 80 retired empty nesters. We've got menopause, we've got perimenopause, we've got early hysterectomies. I mean, we got everything here in Sisters Enchanted. Oh, we got 28. Cassie, high five. Let's see if Judy's here today. Judy's one of our community members. who is bringing the wisdom to the table for us. I love it. Oh my gosh. Can we just take a moment, tangent, to honor that we got Cassie 28 and Judy 82. And so this energy steals our season. And this question, and you all sharing your ages, I love this because actually, this is a wonderful segue. I'm going to skip ahead a little bit. I'm skipping ahead. We're going to have to circle back, but I'm going to ride this wave because it's happening right now and it's important. One of the things that happens with the witch wound, which is where we're bringing the conversation to today, is that women throughout time have really we've played against each other, right? So we've got 28, we've got 82. And what happens, and I don't think anybody wakes up and says, I'm going for the person who's the opposite, the opposite end of the spectrum. None of us wake up and say that today is the day that I am going to steal this person's power. But what does happen with us, though, in the witch wound and this good girl algorithm is we feel so much like we need to be good. We need to look good. We need to be good. We need to act good. We got to speak good, speak well, but all the good, we have to do all that. And even in doing all of that good, it's never enough. It never feels like enough. You cannot put enough retinol on your face to look 20 years younger. You cannot eat healthy enough to shed the 30-pound weight gain that just showed up one day. You cannot walk enough to be able to eat ice cream and have a margarita on Saturday like you used to. No matter what you do, it is not enough. It is not enough, right? And because it's not enough, our energy it's just pouring out of us again. And what happens is we look at other women and it's not conscious, it's not intentional, but this war breaks out between us energetically. Again, it doesn't have to be verbal. It's not like you're going out there and knocking on your neighbor's door or your coworker and like starting a fight with them, but it is this energetic thing. It's like, well, I need to take up this kind of space because this person's taking up all the beauty space. And now I have all the beauty space, but people respect this person because they've got the gray hair and they look more respectable. And so they're getting attention I don't get that I want. And what happens is there's this energetic battle that happens within women. And that is the witch wound it is amongst us all the time. And so I appreciate everybody sharing your ages in here. And I appreciate that we have such a wide group of people because I think it's important to be with people that you wouldn't normally spend time with. Like we got 28 and 82 here. And I don't know. When was the last time you found your neighbor who was in their 80s and just was like, let's go get coffee. Tell me about life. Or an 80-year-old finding their neighbor who's 25 and saying, let's go get coffee and talk about life, right? Unless your family, grandkids, children, whatever. But really closing that gap to closing that gap to gain power from each other, to expand the power and not feel like we have to fight each other for the little bit of space that it seems like we can get in our lives. And I've been thinking about this more and more the last few years. My grandparents I moved them near me. They used to live in Ohio and I moved them here where I am in Connecticut, and they live in like a senior complex thing. Anyway, one of my grandmother's neighbors, she is moving to assisted living as we speak. But she's 102 this month. And I've had so much privilege in being able to chat with that woman for the last 3 years. And just, what is it? What does it take? What does it take to be 101, living on your own and doing your own laundry every single day? And, she said, just get out of bed. That's her advice. So anyway, the witch wound lives amongst us. And that is a great segue into what we are talking about. So I do have a slide I'm going to share with you so that I can remind you where we're coming from, because as you can see, I'm highly distractible, easily distractible. Yesterday, we talked about the good girl algorithm, the sacral curse. We did a visualization with the threshold of seeing. So if you missed that, the replay is available. You can check it out. We also made our energy visualization map a creative exercise. One of the things that I know to be true is that it's really easy to hear me do the visualization, to talk about it, to, like you can watch videos on YouTube, Instagram, like whatever, wherever your thing is. Um, but then doing it is a whole other story, particularly when perfectionism comes up and you think, I don't know if I'm doing it right. I'm wasting time. I don't want to waste this perfectly good journal that cost me $20 and is really fun too. It's like really a tactile experience and I don't want to ruin it. So, my goal yesterday was to get you going and trying something new. And what you walked away with live or on the replay, if you did it, if not, that's cool too. But was this one page energy, artistic expression of your energy? Where is it leaking? And what would you love for it to look like? And what that can be is a beautiful entry in a magical grimoire or a journal or whatever you want to do with it. Burn it, tear it up, and throw it away. But a great place to take what you're experiencing internally and put it external, and embody the work that you're doing. Today, we're talking about the witch wound and identity. We're already in that conversation. And we're going to do another short visualization going through the threshold of trusting. So, our self trust. And we're going to do another exercise today. So, if you have you'll want a piece of paper and a pen, or you can do it later. Easy, super easy, easy peasy, lemon squeezy. So, this is where we are headed. All right. We are doing today with witch wound, talking about the counter spell to the witch wound. So we have talked about so far today in my wild train of thought, how women today very much perpetuate the witch wound without even realizing it. It is not, I solemnly swear, I truly believe my heart of hearts that it's not an intentional thing. It is really the world, the society, its standards. It is just it feels like an impossible mountain to climb sometimes in this journey of womanhood, because you are expected to keep up with everything while your body is going taking a hard left out of nowhere. Your mind is then taking a hard right out of nowhere, and somewhere in there you're supposed to still be bright and shiny. And that feels really impossible, and we can feel like we're losing our season along the way, our seasonality. We don't have the time to pull back and feel the transitions and work with that energy. So, when we think about the witch wound specifically, and we think about the word witch, I do have a YouTube series on YouTube about this. So, I won't try not to spend too much time on it because you can watch the series, and we've got episode 4 coming out on Friday. But with the witch wound, the word witch, as we know it today, has had so many different meanings throughout time. The word witch during the witch trials, during the 1400s to 1700s, the people that were tried and killed for witchcraft, or just or tried and jailed for witchcraft, then were by and large not witches as we might use the word today. When we use the word witch today, we're thinking tarot, we're thinking crystals, we're thinking feminine empowerment and the divine, and I think like stories and energy creation. I love the idea that witches are people who create energy, they don't just respond to energy. But what we saw with these witch trials was largely the pinning of people against each other and scapegoating. We did see in we, as if I was there, historically, in the London witch trials, the fear of Catholicism. Witch trials were happening within the Catholic faith areas as well, but in London specifically, the fear of Catholicism was one of the elements that fanned the fire of the witch trials. So scapegoating, we have women against women, healers against healers, midwives against midwives, neighbors against neighbors, really trying not to be condemned themselves. And so when we look at that and we look at this good girl energy, we look at the sacral curse that I talked about yesterday, how much of our identity in the world that you reside in today, how much of our identity is crafted around not wanting to be seen as bad, not wanting to be seen as not helpful, not wanting to be seen as somebody who's rejected or somebody who, there's people talking bad about you. How much of our identity is crafted around protection of that witch wound, protection of the fear of visibility. How much of our identity is really crafted around that? When I was thinking about this, I had an interesting thought because today we are going to do a visualization around the threshold of trusting and self trust. And that got me thinking about when we trust ourselves and when we trust ourselves to be in any identity we would like to be in, we really truly cannot fail or be rejected because you always have yourself. You always have yourself to hold yourself, to find your people, to claim your belonging, even if you've been rejected and even if you're not fitting in. And when I was thinking about this idea of claiming yourself and healing yourself and really being that power, it got me to thinking of true love's kiss. And that true love's kiss took me on a journey. If you don't know, I went to school to be an English teacher and have my master's in education. And I minored in English, or I majored in English in college, minored in women's studies. But one of the trains of thought that's brought me down was this story of true love's kiss and how so much of the stories that we are all raised on, they center around being saved in some way, shape, or form. And I think that that enhances our modern witch wound because we are really just crowded out in stories around people being saved, not saving themselves. And this got me thinking of true love's kiss, as I said. And do you know the first time true love's kiss, that phrase was actually used in literature, was in the mid 1590s in a Shakespeare play. And in that play, it was the King Richard III, I believe, is the play. True love's kiss is the first that's the first time that phrase is written, I think, because unless there's other information, I don't know. And in that, the character of King Richard III was trying to force a princess to marry him naturally. Naturally, he's forcing her hand in marriage. And he's saying, like basically, she will give me true love's kiss, is what he's saying. And that is in that same play. There is Queen Margaret in that play who curses King Richard III. And I just had all these like, man, how everything comes full circle. We're here talking about the counter spell. I'm talking about the sacral curse yesterday. And we've got this woman trying to reclaim her power by cursing this dude in a 1590s play. And he's talking about true love's kiss, this person who does not want to be married to him. And so we have this idea of true love's kiss. But when we look at true love's kiss in the stories that we've all been raised with, right? They it's not really true love's kiss. It's, here is this king and he's like forcing himself upon this princess who's probably like 60 years younger than him, in the 1590s. And then we've got true love's kiss. The first time it was in a Disney movie was in Snow White in the 1930s. And we know Snow White is asleep. How does she know that's her true love, y'all? How does she know? Of course, it's the 1930s. So she wakes up and she marries the prince and lives happily ever after. But in between there, we also have the Grimm's version of Snow White in the 1800s, where Snow White wakes up when her coffin is dropped and she had a piece of the apple stuck in her throat. And when her coffin's dropped, it dislodges and she wakes up. Of course, she falls in love with the prince, marries him, end of story. But what we see here in all of these stories is the theme of women against women. So even in the King Richard play, there are women against women in there. The princess's daughter, the princess's mother is trying to help the king get the princess to marry him. In, the Snow White story, we've got the evil queen and we've got Snow White and we've got that against each other. And in there we have this true love's kiss thing. And so it is my contention today that our counter spell to the sacral curse, the witch wound, the good girl algorithm is to harness our own true love's kiss as our own ability to look inside for our counter curses. And instead of externalizing and looking for the solution and looking for something to make us feel whole in this season of life that we're in right now. And again, everybody here is in a different area, right, of that season of life, but we can relate to these same themes of feeling like we can't reclaim our season because our energy is being just pulled away left, right, and center. And instead of looking outside of ourselves, we want to look within and be our own true love's kiss. And I see Lisa sharing paper bag princess. Yes, I love that one. The last page of it is something like, Edward, you are a bad prince. we read that we read that one a lot in our house. It's a good one though. Good one if you need a storybook for children. Paper bag princess, 10 out of 10 recommend. What else? Now what is it called? Princess Pulverizer. That's a children's novel series. It's a series, Princess Pulverizer. Check that one out if you've got kids in your lives and you want like a girl on a mission to save herself. Princess Pulverizer that's an interesting one. All right. Now let's get back focused. So we are going to do our threshold visualization, and then we're going to do an activity to break these curses, to start to break them anyway. The thing about curses is I think that they're a million layers deep, right? A million layers deep. In your workbook, you do have this there as well. So I'm going to read through it so you have the awareness of it. But one of the ways that we can recognize when the witch wound, the sacral curse, the good girl algorithm is at play is when we are telling ourselves stories based on what we're witnessing in the world. So this is that internal sort of thing that happens. And why story is so important. And I love to talk about stories because they really create who we are. And we are telling ourselves stories all the time that are creating our lives. When we tell ourselves, be quiet, just stop talking, whether it's in a discussion or you want to raise your hand and say something, but you're not sure if you should. When we're telling ourselves to be quiet, we're telling ourselves our voice doesn't matter. And that's part of that witch wound, sacral curse situation. When we are saying, oh, I don't want to bother them. I don't want to disturb them. I'll just do it myself. I'll just wait. I don't need to go I don't know, what's the thing you like to do? Is it get a massage, go for a walk, just zone out and stare at the ceiling? I don't want to disturb them. What we're telling ourselves is that our needs are inconvenient. When we are reminding ourselves that we should just stay safe, that we should just not do that. I don't want to be the one who shows up dressed in that thing when everybody else is dressed different, or I don't want to be the one who eats differently, or whatever it is. We're telling ourselves that different is dangerous. And then when we are part of that worthiness economics, earning belonging, reminding ourselves that we have to prove our worthiness by earning the belonging. And when I talk about earning the belonging, you only belong if you do certain things that make you belong in the people, with the people, right? So if true belonging does not require earning anything, you belong because you belong. And so that's a story we tell ourselves. And we can look at breaking these spells by practicing different stories. My voice matters. My needs are valid. My difference is my gift. I belong because I exist. And we can notice how it feels to say those things in our bodies, particularly when we say them out loud, And your energy is the foundation of your witchery practice. You can use all the crystals you want, light all the candles you want, do all the rituals you want. If your energy is up in the first four, be quiet, don't disturb, stay safe. I mean, what kind of energy are you casting with? I'd like to know. We want to move down to these lower stories there. Okay. Now, we are going to do our short visualization, and then I'm going to have you grab your piece of paper, and we're going to do another exercise to put it on paper, embody what we are doing here, and then I'll let you go for the day. I'll let you go on this We got a Libra new moon. Moon moves into Scorpio though in a couple hours. It's a little weird timing new moon situation, but it is the perfect day to be making choices around how you want to feel and the energy you're going to embody. And the sun's moving into Scorpio, so it's a wonderful day to sort of have that burning down and rising up energy. Okay, let's do this. Let's do this. The threshold of trusting awaits. All right, hands on your body. If you want to participate live, you can do hands on your thighs. You can put your hands in a receiving position in your lap, hand on heart, hand on lower body. If you're working, doing dishes, you can keep doing that too. I'll hold the space for everyone. I invite you to close your eyes. Just notice the energy of your body here in this space that we're all in together. I like to see us all in one place in a beautiful retreat village or out in the forest, welcoming in those who've never traveled alone before, who were terrified to come here today but still showed up. Those who love adventure and love people and can use your energy to help support those who could use some right now. Yesterday, we crossed the threshold of seeing, so we could see our energy in new ways, new and enlightening ways. Today, we walk to the threshold of trusting. And at the threshold of trusting, we see on the other side the playground of the witch wound, the playground of identity. And as we see this, it may form in a knowing, in a thought, in a feeling, in words rather than images. But for each of us, this playground forms in a slightly different way. It may be pieces you can put together and manipulate. How does the witch wound respond when you move certain things around? How does your energy grow or shrink? Is there a trunk full of dresses and pants and bow ties and hairbands and all different ways you can practice expressing yourself through clothing? Are there people there that you can practice expressing yourself to? It's a stage of your creation. We stand at the threshold of trusting. You take one breath in and exhale. You take a second steadying breath with a big exhale. And with the third breath in, you exhale as you cross over the threshold into this trusting space where you can play with your identity, you can play with the witch wound and see what it feels like to reclaim your season, to reclaim your power, to know that you can't fail here. You can try anything, you can be anything. There's plenty of space for you. While we only have a short time in this space today, know that at any point in time, you can close your eyes, come back to the threshold of trusting, and step back into this playground. Observe, notice, how does it feel? What do you see? What makes it yours? As you're in this space, notice what about it makes you feel alive. Or notice how alive feels in your body when you hear the word alive. Knowing you're free to express yourself fully in this space, how does it feel to know that you are your own true love's kiss? As you look around in the threshold of trusting, ask yourself this question. What do I know that I'm pretending not to know? What do I know that I'm pretending not to know? Take a look around or imagine or think the thoughts, the words to create your space, however this works for you. There's no right way, only your way. You can come back here. You can journal it or draw it or experience it in your energy or your mind's eye whenever you'd like to. For now, it's time to gather back and put what we've experienced into the world. You step back through that threshold or over that threshold, through the portal. Take a breath. Exhale. And if your eyes are closed, I invite you to open them and grab your piece of paper because we are going to do a magical page of sorts, and then I'm going to let you go for today. And I'll give you that potion word as well. So, feel free to share too in the comments if you want to share for witnessing. Witnessing just means that we see you in your experience. And if you did not visualize, it's totally okay to just write your own story later. That's all right as well. Okay. Here are three options for how I'd love you to embody this experience and take this with you today as we keep on uh, creating this experience through the week together. So I did give you three different ideas. Basically, what you see on the screen are three rectangles, right? They're rectangles. And you can do something entirely different if you would like to. The option on the left is if you want to do some journaling, perhaps. My suggestion is to draw three circles. And in the top circle, journal on your experience that you had here. What you know. What was the thing that you know? Write about the feeling of being your own true love's kiss, perhaps, and how alive feels. Option one is to do some journaling and do it in a creative way, though. Make spaces for it could be circles, it could be squiggles, it can be whatever. Do some art journaling. Make this a piece of energetic work to embody what you have done. The second option, the one in the center, this is just an idea. You can totally do again, like whatever you want to do, it can be different. But a thought that I had was that you may want to create sort of a grid kind of that you can put elements on, or you might want to draw and connect to elements as you work through this experience this week. For the top circle, I put in the air element to kind of go along with that what you know energy, sort of those upper chakras. For the center, the water element, the lower, fire, alive, and then maybe all of it's really grounded and centered in the earth element. This can be a picture, this can be just spaces, and you actually create a grid, perhaps, if you'd like to do that. And then, of course, on the right, using these options, putting them together in a way to use them as a tarot or oracle card spread or layout, and framing the questions or the phrases to fit you and your needs. So maybe a card to reflect on the thing you're pretending not to know, a card to reflect on that true love's kiss energy, and a card to reflect on safety versus aliveness. Safety versus aliveness. All right. All right. So those are some suggestions for you. I'll leave this up for a moment. We will, I believe, also be able to put this with the replay so that you will have it. This is the embodiment practice I'd love you to put to work. All right. Now, the word for today is enchanted. I do know that some folks were having trouble yesterday with it, and I do believe it might perhaps is, I think, is sorted out for today. And you know what? Have no fear if the tech gremlins are making you want to throw a brick through a window. Just shoot us a message and we won't leave you empty-handed. We won't leave you empty-handed. And so just take us like a breath out with that and know that we've got your back as long as you've got it too, and you reach out and let us know you're having a problem. We're psychic, but we're not like that psychic to be able to tell which person's having trouble without you telling us. So today's word is enchanted. And again, if you're having any trouble with that, try to refresh today and let us know. And we can help you out. But I do think that the problem was solved. Something to do with spaces on mobile devices that you can't see in copies and pastes or something like that. I don't know. That's beyond me. Beyond my intelligence level. All right, then. So, if you want to grab a screenshot of this, I'm going to stop sharing the screen. Let us out of here for today. But we will put this with the replay. This is your embodiment work to do. And I love to hear about your experiences. So, if you do this, come prepared maybe to share in the chat tomorrow which one you did, how it went for you, and inspire others to try something new as well. And yeah, all right. Well, tomorrow we are meeting again and we are talking about rhythm and finding your rhythm. Now that we've looked at your energy, sort of sorted out what's going on there, the witch wound, how that is, taking our energy. And one of the greatest ways to come back to our power and develop a witchery practice that feels supportive and not like another hobby that you're half engaging in is to work with the rhythm of the seasons and the lunar cycles. And then also finding your own rhythm, because sometimes it's just not practical to work with the rhythm around us because life be lifing. So we're going to talk about all of that tomorrow. We do have our Enchanted Journey membership open this week. If you want to check that out for our annual registration, which we do one time per year. And so you can check that out and see if that's a cool thing you want to add to your options for the next 12 months and hang out with us in there. All right, then. Well, that is it. We'll get this replay out to you. And I guess I will see you tomorrow, 10 a.m. Eastern Time, same place, YouTube. And we're going to keep on keeping on. Enchanted is your word. Reach out if you have trouble. And thank you so much for being here today. Until tomorrow, stay magic, y'all.